Yes, indeed. B Marsh Boxing back at it with another post fight review. Tony Harrison versus Brian Perrella. I believe this is Brian Perella's first fight at 154 pounds, moving up from welterweight. And Brian Perrella made a good effort for himself, man. The Southpaw gave Tony Harrison all kind of problems tonight. You know, in the beginning, in the first round, which I gave to Perrella, you could see Tony Harrison didn't really gauge the distance properly, really and truly. He was fighting this guy uh, from long distance, you know what I mean, depending probably on his reach and height. And obviously, Tony Harrison is the bigger fighter. You know what I mean? You could see it in the size difference. And Tony Harrison, man, he just was staying from far from this guy, while the guy, what's his name, Brian Perrella is circling. You know what I mean? You know, Brian Perrella was a little jittery in the first round. You know what I mean? Even though I did give him the first round, it was a close round, but he was a little jittery. But he was using his jab and he was circling. Staying away from. He was actually circling to the man Tony Harrison's right hand. You know what I mean? And I was like, this is working in favor of the man Tony Harrison. You know what I'm saying? And Brian Perrella was throwing his jab, throwing the straight left hands. And, Tony Harrison had a problem dictating the range. But when he did get a little closer, and not that Tony Harrison I believe he's about 6'1", 72-inch reach. Um, you know, 6'1", 76-inch reach. And the man, Brian Perrella, is about 6'1" with a 72-inch reach. And Tony Harrison, being the longer, taller fighter, he thought he could just stay from the outside, and he was stalking the man, Brian Perrella. And actually, that's not Tony Harrison's style. Tony Harrison is a boxer puncher. He's mostly on the back foot, mostly on his lateral movement. Not so much used to being the guy who, excuse me, who's a come forward fighter. And Brian Perrella was taking advantage of that. Then you could see in the later rounds now, I gave Brian Perrella round one, I gave him round three, and I gave him round 5 and 6. You know what I mean? Brian Perrella. The man, Brian Perrella, when he started stalking the man Tony Harrison, because Tony Harrison now was getting caught with some nice check left hooks, you know. I'm sorry, check right hooks. The man Brian Perrella, being the southpaw, would throw his long, straight left hand. He was actually dictating the pace from range much better than Tony Harrison tonight. You know what I'm saying? Throwing that left hand and then catching him straight and then throwing a right hook right behind it, a nice check left hook. Tony Harrison was didn't really have no hooks in his arsenal tonight. Tony Harrison was more some straight punches, not even really body punching. He wasn't close enough to go to the body. You know what I mean? So, this fight was a close back and forth fight. You know what I'm saying? It was a close back and forth fight through round 10. I had it a draw. Um, Actually, I had the man Tony Harrison down 1 point. But the championship rounds, round 11 and 12, I gave it to Tony Harrison. And I had this fight, ladies and gents, I had this fight a draw. You know what I mean? I see Giovanni Stefan's in the chat. Excuse me. He says, who you won or who won? Um, this fight was called a draw. You know what I mean? Two judges, one each had it for Tony Harrison. The other had it for Brian Perrella. And one judge had it a draw, and I wasn't mad at a draw one bit. That's what I had on my scorecard. But if anybody had to deserve to get the victory in this fight, it should have been Brian Perrella. Like round one is a swing round. You know what I mean? Round three, round three was also a swing round too. You know what I mean? So this was a very close fight. But Tony Harrison, I think the southpaw. You know how usually the kryptonite for A southpaw is a straight right hand. Well, that was Tony Harrison's kryptonite tonight. It was that left hand from the man Brian Perrella. And Brian Perrella was mixing it up with hooks, jabbing off the hook. That's something that the man Tony Harrison wasn't doing. And one thing about Tony Harrison tonight, which was quite disappointing, um, was the man Tony Harrison was admiring his work too much. Not punching in bunches. The man was throwing and Brian Perrella did throw, not often, but when he did go with the punches and bunches, throwing combination punches. You know what I mean? Tony Harrison, in this fight, if you watch the fight, Tony Harrison does have some nice straight right hands. You know what I mean? Straight right hands that kind of back the man, Brian Perrella back. But Brian Perrella did catch Tony Harrison with some straight left hands and even a left hook while Tony Harrison's backing up. You know what I mean? That wobbled Tony Harrison. Now, Tony Harrison don't got the greatest chin at the 154-pound division, and that's just a fact. And that's way before the Charlo fight, man. Go ask fellas like that guy that Boob Andrade beat as well, Willie Nelson. You know what I mean? Um, Tony Harrison was admiring his work so much, and he was so flat-footed. I don't know if it's him being out the ring for so long. I don't know if it's Tony Harrison not having his father for the first time ever in his life, not in his corner. You know what I mean? His pops has been his trainer since he was a little kid. His pops passed away sometime in the last year or so due to COVID. You know what I'm saying? He passed away from the coronavirus. Now, Tony Harrison, man, he was being trained by his brother, but there wasn't no sense of urgency. He did win the 11th and 12th round, but I thought that he made this fight more difficult than it needed to be. He made actually Brian Perrella, a guy who's been knocked out, I believe, in his last fight. The man Brian Perrella has been knocked out. You know what I mean? You check it, Brian Perrella has lost. I remember even, I think, was it Udenis Ugas? Stopped him as well. You know what I'm saying? So, but and this is a guy coming up in weight. So Tony Harrison, there wasn't no sense of urgency, and hence why he got a draw tonight, and he's actually lucky to get a draw. This fight could have easily, with the swing rounds, gone in favor of the man Brian Perrella. You know what I'm saying? And I think both guys were actually satisfied with the decision tonight, because I think both guys deep down inside know that they didn't do enough to win this fight. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be another it's a little minor setback, hopefully for a major comeback for the man Tony Harrison. Tony Harrison, you know, he doesn't have too much time left in the game to be at an elite fighter, because there's going to be some younger super middleweights coming up, junior middleweights on the come up. And them fellas, Tony Harrison needs to get back in position to challenge for the world title again, especially if Jamal Charlo, still retains his title in an undisputed fight that's been confirmed versus him and Brian Castano sometime in July. You know what I mean? So if he won tonight, then maybe he might be up due next. Maybe if he gets another good victory under his belt, he's due next for a title shot. But this is going to be a major setback right here. We've got fellas like Jared Hurd. He's still lurking in the cut. Hasn't done so much actually for us ever since he lost his titles to Julian J. Rock Williams, and that's another guy too. But Tony Harrison, he didn't look very impressive tonight. I think the southpaw, Brian Perrella, and Brian Perrella also had a battery in his back. He's a guy from Florida. Tonight he was being trained by none other than Florida's finest fighter ever, Roy Jones Jr. was in his corner being his trainer. So I'm sure that actually, gave him some incentive that he can win this fight just off the knowledge he's getting in the corner from Roy Jones Jr. You know what I mean? Main Boxing Biker says, "What up, B Marsh and Chad? What the deal, Main Boxing Biker? Salute." Raldi Liriano says, "Who won?" It was a draw. Jude. Okay. Red Eye says, B. Marsh, yeah, looked like a heartbroken fighter. Who did? Tony Harrison? Yeah, he did. If you mean Tony Harrison by him not having his pops in his corner, I absolutely agree with you. You know what I mean? Tony Harrison, you know, he looked like he forgot his fundamentals as far as, dictating the range and ring generalship. And also, the guy, Ryan Perrella, was circling into his right hand. And he wasn't really blasting this guy. Tony Harrison, before he got his first loss, was a vicious boxer puncher. A guy will box your ears off and then knock you out, man. I think by the time he took his first loss, he was like 25-0 with 23 KOs. You know what I mean? Um, what's it called? So, Tony Harrison, he didn't look spectacular tonight. He's lucky to get a draw. And Brian Perrella, is actually, what I mean, he's making a case that he's now at 154 pounds. He is a big 6 foot one. You know what I mean? So we shall see. We shall see. But big ups to everybody in the chat. Red Eyes, Rawley Liriano, Main Boxing Biker, Giovanni Stefan. Salute to all y'all. Let me know in the comment section who you guys think won this fight. All right? Marsh Boxing, I'm gone. Peace.